Greetings and welcome to the Duluth Public School Board HR Business Services Committee meeting today, Tuesday, December 13th, prior to Snowmageddon. It is 4:35 today, so let's get started. Welcome everybody. We have a guest presentation today for this meeting, Safe Routes to School. The city of, we have a grant application with the city of Duluth, correct? All right, great. Welcome.
I'm Cindy Boyd, I'm the city engineer. This is James Gittmeyer. We have 4 things on my agenda to talk about Devonshire Safe Routes to School update. We got that grant, we were excited on that. We're gonna do the design right now. We need an easement for that. James will go over that. The upcoming grant application for enhancements for a trail that impacts Convent School that we're gonna apply for 2026. Now we're gonna talk about future plans that you might have for safe routes, and try to gather any input on your feelings on that, and then ask questions. So kick it off with James. He's gonna talk about, it's all in order, your handouts are in order, and he's gonna go over it in that order.
Thank you, Cindy. As Cindy mentioned, I'm James Gittmeyer. I'm a senior transportation planner with the city of Duluth. And before that, I've been with the city now almost a year. Before that, I had been with the Metropolitan Interstate Council, which is the transportation planning agency for this region, since 2004. And I've been working on Safe Routes to School work in all that time. So a similar role, but with a different agency and more on the implementation instead of the planning side. Yeah, your first photo here, they're in order on your handouts here in front of you. The first one is the dead end of Devonshire Street. So we're by Lincoln Park Middle School to kind of give you an orientation. And you're looking at the dead end of Devonshire Street and then the school sidewalk trail that goes up the hill to Lincoln Park Middle School. That's the first picture. And what we are doing with that is as Cindy had mentioned, we received a Safe Routes to School grant for Lincoln Park Middle School to do sidewalk pedestrian improvements around that school. And in addition to that, the city is going to be reconstructing Devonshire Street, this dead end section, and creating a turnaround at that end and formalizing all that. And so that's where that Cindy had mentioned that we'll be looking to get an easement so that we can build that turnaround, which will be on some of school district property. So we thought with the Safe Routes to School, we can tie these projects, the city project and the Safe Routes to School project together. We'll also be fixing a panel of the school sidewalk. I don't know if it's really, at that point, if it's city jurisdiction or school district jurisdiction, but there's a cracked panel from that sidewalk that was built with Lincoln Park Middle School. So we'll fix that as a part of the project as well. And then, so if you flip the page, you can see the turnaround, so how we'll formalize it and clean that up and make a formal turnaround spot instead of kind of a free-for-all there on that. And
so I'll be looking for an easement formally. We'll draft up the easement document, bring it to the board. I just thought it was a good opportunity, since we're here anyway on the grant, to give you an update that we're going to build the Safe Routes grant that we got previously, and then we will have this nice connection for the students up to this trail, and warn you that I'll bring an easement document forward. We've done it on other projects in the past. We'll get everything together, no cost to you guys, but I just wanted you to have it on your radar that early this winter we'll be bringing something forward and asking for an easement for the road.
And that's a 2023 construction project. And just 2 other pieces of that Lincoln Park. We were supposed to have our meeting tomorrow night at the school. We won't. We'll reschedule it until after the new year. But the other pieces is that the Safe Routes to School grant will be doing ADA improvements along the official school walking routes through that neighborhood below the school. So on Atlantic Avenue, there'll be ADA improvements and sidewalk improvements, and on Devonshire, which actually has a less steep slope, ADA improvements, including there was a gravel trail that we built with the community and the Lincoln Park Middle School students a few years back. We're going to actually formalize that and turn it into a paved trail to officially make it one of the official routes for the school. On Devonshire.
So take that, because I'm just looking at a map right now.
Yeah.
So will Devonshire then there's kind of a gap before it hits Atlantic, and
Yes.
that's the piece that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, the new construction,
The new
which
construction.
will be paved now.
So it'll be paved, and then the students can finish that trail up to Lincoln Park, correct?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
So that's what that Safe Routes to School project entails, and just want to mention it because it's a 2023 project.
So this is done through Safe Routes to School?
Yes, MnDOT, so the state of Minnesota is Safe Routes to School program.
Got it.
Yes,
And this is 2023?
yes, yep. And we'll have a public meeting Thursday. It was, like I said, it was supposed to be tomorrow night, but it won't be, so now it'll be Thursday, January 5th at the school, at Lincoln Park Middle School in their commons area to go over that.
Thursday, January 6th?
January 5th,
5th, okay.
yeah, at 5:30 p.m.
All right, awesome.
Good. Glad you got that rescheduled, that's fast.
Yeah. I was hoping it wasn't, we wouldn't have to, but, the next on the list, do you want me to just keep running?
Yeah, just
Okay.
go, you're good. This is now we're gonna talk about the grant that we're applying for 2026.
So this is the current Safe Route to Schools grant application for 2026?
It's not a safe routes grant, it's a transportation alternative grant.
Yeah, and this is a federal grant that is available each year, and that we apply for it most years as a city, and our competition is the rest of the Arrowhead region, so this is for transportation alternative funding. We've used that money in the past largely to build out the Lake Walk and the cross-city trails, and now we have another planned trail to go from the Lake Walk up through past Congdon Elementary, up through UMD campus and to St. Scholastica, and actually onto Rice Lake Road and Lowell School. So that campus connector trail we're working on, we have two segments built, one segment funded to be built, and now this year we're gonna go after 2 additional segments to be built, and this one that's before you is the one that's gonna run from the Lake Walk to First Street, which is the bottom where the Tisher Creek Congdon Park Trail is. So to complete the Lake Walk to that trail, and then that will get you all the way up the hill.
And
On
that's
the big
this?
map.
And
Yep.
that's,
Okay.
good, you have the big
It's
map.
the dashed green is what we're proposing to do.
Yes.
The dashed green. And then this is part of that same grant?
That's the
Yes.
part that we felt the school district would be most interested in seeing.
Because what you're seeing in this map here, of the intersection is Superior Street and Congdon Park Drive. And as part of building this trail, we would improve that crossing at that intersection. And so this is a concept, so we're not sure what our final design will be, but this is a concept. But we'll be making pedestrian and bicycle improvements, because this trail would be a bicycle, we allow bicycling on it too. So it would be a trail that would allow pedestrians and bicycles to be able to cross the street at that location at the school. But
It's important to note that we have worked with Kathy Marshall and Congdon staff, and they love this design. They're excited.
Which reminds me that James is gonna ask the principal at Congdon for a separate letter, and I appreciate your letter that you wrote, but it helps, as we said last year, the more principal letters we have, the better we score in the grant, so James is gonna reach out to her and try to get that separate letter from the specific school. And then the only other thing, while we got this sheet, is most of this, where the new path is, we're just taking up the old sidewalk. The sidewalk's in beautiful shape, it's painful for me to do. It's not gonna cost you guys anything, we'll make it wider, but this is where I'll need an easement from you guys on this side, when I put that path in there. And that's if we get the grant. All this is if we get the money.
Yeah.
If we don't get the money, we're gonna try again.
Yeah.
We'll just keep trying until we get it, and
it's an annual grant, so
Yeah.
we would we would try to get,
so that's kind of the summary that we have there. And then, if you have questions on this site, I don't wanna feel like we're rushing you
Yeah.
through, but we have I
Um,
figure 10 minutes we'll be out of here.
So, the letter from the principal, is there any letters you need from school board members or anything? Maybe the school board member who reps that, who's their representative? We hear a lot about this piece at Congdon, as I'm sure you do. So if
I
there's,
think you were talking about some of the parent groups that
Yeah.
James is gonna reach out to them.
I'm sure the PTA would
but
be,
absolutely, the more of the letters, the more letters we get, the better, especially this one. This is a known controversy, so the more letters we get, that does help this application, because when the reviewers are reviewing it, they will review those letters.
That's,
So,
they have such a
Yeah.
super active parent group there, I'm sure they can marshal quite a response and support.
So James gonna reach out, try to get the letters we need. And David already wrote a nice letter, appreciate that. And then if we get the school board resolution of support, in that school board resolution, we have drafted that you guys will work with us to get an easement. Because these don't score well if we're trying to build something on someone else's property and they don't agree. So it's really important to have that easement language in there. And then if we get the grant, we'll work with your attorney and it'll all be fine. But that's why the language is there. It makes the application look stronger because it's not on our property. And that's why we're here.
And that's under recommended resolution C, is that the resolution I think we're talking about? Okay, perfect. Great, I'll make sure to bring special note to that, at the school board.
Appreciate that. And then we just wanted to ask if you guys had any special needs for future Safe Routes projects, and also kind of a friendly reminder that a lot of these applications really have the back end part of what the school needs to do with the outreach and education, and you wrote the book on all these criteria.
yeah, the transportation alternative grant that we're going for doesn't necessarily have all of the concern over all the other things the school district and schools are doing. But when we apply for a state Safe Routes to School grant, we have to explain the other E's, the equity goals, the education goals, encouragement. And so the schools in the district that are active in Safe Routes to School, they get extra points automatically for the things they're doing. So when we applied for Lincoln Park, they had a walk to school day event that they used to do, and so we were able to note that, and that helped us get points and helped us get a grant. And so, Congdon's an active school, Lester Park, I think it is active, but it's one of those things that it does, when we're trying to go after infrastructure grants, they are looking at those other E's and their Safe Routes to School plans, and how are the schools and how is the district implementing those. So I just wanted to note that.
Is there a school that I can talk about a little bit with Safe Routes to School? Piedmont Elementary on Chambersburg. My son walks from Piedmont Elementary and then he goes down Chambersburg and then he turns down Leonard with a whole bunch of kids, and there's no sidewalks there. So they're walking down the side of the street, and then in the winter, right, as they plow, those kids are walking on top of snowbanks and all sorts of different ways to get from those neighborhoods, from Piedmont to those neighborhoods, Leonard, and then even farther down, they could take different routes, but just the access for Piedmont on Chambersburg is rough for kids walking.
In Chambersburg, in order for us to fix that, we need a reconstruction. For whatever political reasons, we were pressed to make that road smoother.
Yeah,
And
Yep.
now I can, in good faith, rip everything up that we just paid for the sidewalk. So it wasn't done the way engineering probably would have done it, and now engineering gets all the complaints. And I have Jen Moses in planning as
yes, she's
someone
my
on
neighbor.
Lon Hovland.
He's my neighbor. Yeah,
So I hear it
yeah.
more than just you, and I know about it, and I wish I could do something now. I don't have an easy answer. So I'm
But
sorry for that.
no, that's
We made some bad choices a couple of years ago, and now everyone else is paying the price.
yeah, and I'm familiar with it, but maybe just something we can think about, however long it would take, but
And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That was item number 4.
Writing it down and,
Yeah.
Or
absolutely.
anything else that you have questions, that's on number 4. Any questions? Otherwise,
I-
go.
Well, I would just mention, schools that have reached out to me, Stowe Elementary has reached out to me the last couple of years. One of the things they've actually requested is a bike rack near their front door. But they've also asked us to look at their Safe Routes to School plan goes back to the original one from 2006. And it was part of the district-wide one, and so they've asked us for an update. And we did explore that we work with our regional partners at the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission to help us with doing the planning. And they didn't have the capacity this year to put an application in for safe routes to school planning dollars. But it's something, you know, we can keep talking about, like, how can we figure this out? But I know that Stowe Elementary would like to have an update to their plan. And actually, MnDOT even reached out to me last week because they're looking at a project on Highway 23 in front of Stowe and saying, can we get an update? So there may be something in the near future about how can we do an update to their safe routes to school plan to guide us with our infrastructure improvements by that school. And then the only other two, St. Louis County's asked about having a safe routes to school plan for Homecroft. It doesn't have one at all. But the county's looking at Howard Kneeson right now, and I feel like through their planning effort on Howard Kneeson, that would solve many of the safe routes to school issues for that one. And then the only other school that's been on the radar kind of over the last 5 years or so has been Ordini's Middle School. But it's got a full sidewalk network connecting it. So it hasn't been high up on it, but we do have a plan for Lincoln Park Middle School, and so I could see, and actually Proctor, Superior, and Hermantown will all have a plan. So it's the only middle school in our region that doesn't have a safe routes to school plan. So that could be something that could be looked at in the future. But it's not, the city doesn't lead the planning effort, we participate in it, but we do rely on regional partners to help us to run those processes. And we're working with those, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there, kind of what we're seeing and thinking when it comes to safe routes to school and schools. So
That's great information.
And then Cindy had mentioned there's other, you mentioned Piedmont, so I'm writing it down as an important thing to continue to pay attention to.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all we really have.
That's great. We appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Tell Jen hi. No.
We'll do.
Okay, thanks you guys.
Any chances of getting the bus to go up Lincoln Park School
Right.
twice in the morning and
Right.
twice at the school?
Well, I've been in conversations on trying to figure out how we do student
Yeah.
ID transit passes for the high schoolers and maybe eventually the middle schoolers. That would be great.
That would be awesome.
We're working on that, but that's a tricky issue.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. Yep.
Every morning I drive over there and I think about the same thing with that. Well, I appreciate you both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thanks.
yep, thanks guys.
That was great. All right, let's move on to the second, number 2 in our agenda for departmental reports, human resources. Director Severance, let her rip.
Yes, so you'll see in the report summary, we're still it's a slow time of year for hiring, but we are filling positions. We've had some transition again in our HR department, so we're actively recruiting a few positions, but the team has been really supportive of each other, and we just want to make sure we get the right people in the position. So we'll keep trying, but we're still in the process of hiring.
How close to being fully staffed are you? Are you closer to being fully staffed than you have been?
No, actually not.
You're
We have 3 open positions right now, and one, of course, key position, which is the HR manager, and then 2 of our support positions. But we are interviewing for our front desk person on Friday.
Great.
We have 8 or 9 candidates to interview, so we're pretty confident we should be able to get somebody out of that pool. So
Great.
Benefits, we finished up with our open enrollment, and we do have some retirement sessions coming up. I think on Friday actually of this week. Working on retirement benefit estimates. So the teachers union, we need to have the estimates to them by January 1 because they have to provide their retirement date by February 1 if they're retiring this year. And so what that entails is looking at the years of service that they have related to their contract language for their severance, which is a healthcare savings deposit for most of the bargaining units. So we're
Director
busy
Severance,
working on
could you
those.
just tell me at the January 1st date that we have to do what?
We have to, for the teachers union, we need to have all retirement estimates to those employees by that date that have requested that.
Okay, so for the DFT, we need to get them their retirement estimates. Okay, I
Yep.
just want to make sure I say it
And
right.
so it's only for those that have requested them, and most of the ones that we have received have been from teachers. I want to say upper 20s for teachers, and then we have a total of 35 that are currently being processed to,
Teachers?
no, upper 20s of teachers and
Upper-
then a handful of other bargaining units.
Okay.
But all of them will be sent out by January 1st.
Perfect. And then they have, then as part of the contract that we recently negotiated, they have to give us whether or not they're gonna retire by the February
February 1.
1.
And
Okay.
that, prior to negotiations, was an April 1st date. But in order for us to have a better idea of staffing and what our needs are going to be, we requested and were able to negotiate it to be a February 1st.
Great, I think that just speaks to the work you've done in improving processes, so I really appreciate that.
So busy, we're busy. Even though we're not hiring a ton of people, we're busy doing other things. And I think I did note too, in the department updates, we're actually gonna be working on some process mapping next week to go through some payroll processes and just some other things. Now that we have a smaller core staff that have been here a good portion of time now, we wanna just make sure that we're really looking at things so that we can keep improving as we get into the next fiscal year and have some things in place. Continue to work on getting electronic timesheets for everybody, and how do we move forward through some of that. There's still a lot of manual, especially in the payroll department, a lot of manual, time consuming. It takes 2 weeks to run a payroll, 2 weeks, every
Yeah.
2 weeks. So there, I think there's definitely things that we could be looking at, but we've never really had the opportunity to sit down and
Do
talk
that.
about it collectively and kind of go through a really systematic process of looking at it. The EEO-5 report, which is our demographics report, was due in November and certified, so that's has been
Did we
submitted.
look at that report, or was that a report from last year we looked? Did we? And
Probably-
does that have to do with pay equity
It's-
across gender and all that?
It's not pay equity, it actually is a classification, so what types of positions, and I can certainly send you that. I didn't attach it, but
But did we look at that already? I'm just trying to, okay, I'm thinking
no,
of
you're
something
probably
else.
thinking pay equity, which would have been, that's more of the pay related to the
Got it.
gender.
Okay,
And this is all the demographics of, across all the employment
got it, okay.
in the district and their categories. And then you'll see our hiring updates there. We still have a lot of openings, of course, paraprofessionals, child nutrition, kind of the same places, also maintenance. And again, I note we are short 20-some school custodians, even though it's one posting, so it doesn't have,
Yeah,
the number of openings, so this doesn't reflect that, but still trying to work on different ways to get the word out about those positions. And lastly, we are pretty confident that the alternate proposal that we submitted to the firemen and oilers goes to vote for Saturday, and we're relatively confident that that will pass their bargaining unit. Their negotiating team is recommending a yes vote, so
they are recommending a
Yes.
yes vote, right? So by the school board meeting, we should have an answer.
yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm going to put it as a tentative agenda item on the school board meeting with that anticipation, and then they will text me on Saturday to let me know how that vote went. And if so, if not, I'll pull it and we'll go
Okay.
back to the drawing board. But
Perfect,
I met with them this morning, as we've had some good open conversation, and they're still confident that it should pass.
that's awesome, great. Okay. All right, and then let's see, and then we have the recommendation to recognize 2 new district holidays, and we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it at a, maybe Superintendent Magus had mentioned it at a board meeting, a
Yeah.
regular board meeting. But we are coming forward with a formal recommendation to approve Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth as official holidays on the school calendar. There are certain employees right now, teachers, that it's not a work day for them as it is now, but there are many that it is a work day. And so
Which day would that be, the
The-
June 19th?
the Martin Luther King Day.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And then, of course, in the summer, with the
Yeah.
June 19th, doesn't affect as many employees either. So what I would do is work with each of the bargaining units that has an effect here, where normally they would be working those days, to get an MOU in place for recognizing those holidays as a paid holiday for
Yeah,
them.
because that's right, students are not in class, but teachers are working for MLK
For
Day.
MLK.
Yeah, okay, all right, that makes sense. All right. Thank you so much. All right, now we're moving on to 2B, Business Services. Director Zinich,
Yes.
let's hear your verbal report.
Our audit is done and we will be, I just received a draft about 45 minutes before our meeting tonight, and I would like to review it, be ready for any questions, and then we will send that out to school board members. And a formal presentation will be made by Whipley at the school board meeting next week.
Great.
And, yeah, we're just, doing our thing in finance and in transportation and food service, so all is well. We are tying up any grants and year end. We're still actually sending some information to the auditors, but nothing that would affect our books or that needs to get submitted to MDE.
Great. That's great. And so now we move on to our enrollment report, and if I'm correct, we're gonna be looking for a new coordinator for our enrollment, correct?
Yes, we are. It is posted,
I
and
s-
yes, it closes next week for our Mars coordinator / business services liaison.
Awesome.
Okay?
Alright. So we look at our enrollment report and we see that we have an increased enrollment from last month, correct?
We do. Yes.
So these look like great numbers.
Yes.
We are about 105, almost 106 students
Yes.
increased than what we budgeted for.
That's correct, and you'll notice on the first page where you're looking at December of '22, the graph below, Cattery has inserted October counts from the year prior, so you have something to compare it to. That's just kind of was a new request, okay? Just to give you a little bit more data.
Great. I think these look really good. Are there any questions? Love to see those enrollment numbers come back. And I'm trying to think, we're getting closer to our pre-COVID enrollment numbers. We're inching up
We are,
closer and
yes.
closer, so that's great.
Great news.
Moving over to child nutrition, there, you can see the report. We have a huge number of schools that are being served by our understaffed child nutrition department. We appreciated the report that we got last week. We're still seeing supply chain issues, and we still are in need of food service workers. There is a note here on the health department. The Minnesota Health Department has completed round 2 of our inspections. No issues were brought forth. Good reviews at all of our schools reinforces that our program employees and managers are putting food safety as their top priority. I love it. So that's what we have for child nutrition. We move over to facilities. And we're ready, Mr. Spooner.
Thank you. I'll briefly summarize the report and open it up for questions when I'm done. We completed a substantial number of open work orders this month. Under construction, the tower work after multiple years is almost complete. The spire, which is the pointed roof, which is actually decorative, was going to go on yet this winter, but with the snow coming, I think it'll be waiting till spring, and the finial is a decorative kind of pointed thing on top of the spire, so that'll be left till spring. After 3 years, the Condon Park window replacement project is complete. We've got 174 windows that we put in. There are 2 doors that need to be done on winter break, and then that'll be completed, so it's been a long project. It's
Almost like PSS1, huh?
it's good to be done with that. The sped bathroom, we did a punchless walkthrough this week on Monday morning, and that is just waiting for 2 doors, and that'll be complete. And we're working on an FY24 Condon Park playground renovation project for LTFM with Kathy Marshall and the staff right now. The PSS track, we're waiting for a response from their attorney right now. I think we're getting close to having this item disappear from my report, so I'm hopeful that happens soon. The construction on the hill is going really well. It's really coming together, and everybody will be excited to get up there, I know, once we get completed. Under building operations, our staff are doing just a wonderful job of doing their best to keep the buildings conducive for teaching and learning. We're down to 2 people in elementary schools, 3 or 4 in secondaries, and we currently have 23 vacancies, but we do have some applicants. I think Corey mentioned we're interviewing 4 people next week, so things might be turning around. And then the health and safety and environmental management, I'll leave that to everybody to read, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then I can open it up for any questions that anybody might have on my report.
Mr. Spooner, for that FY '24, the Congdon Park window replacement, I was just thinking about when I went through the packet, did we have a change order in here?
There's a change order and there will be another one coming. The change order that's in this document was related to wood. That if you can imagine the windows behind you, if you take that out, took the window out, there's wood surrounding the full perimeter. And we couldn't bid, or we didn't want to bid all new wood for every 174 windows. So we got unit pricing for wood that was rotted. So the change order consists of paying for wood that was rotted, and then we didn't know what the dimension of the new window would be because we reused the shades that were put in during the red plan. And the windows luckily came in a little bit narrower, which allowed us to cut shades down and make the shades narrower. Thankfully, they weren't wider because we can't grow our shade wider. We would have been buying new shades. So the change order today consists of, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's okay, I won't have to explain it when we get there.
Yeah.
It consists of cutting shades down a little bit to make them narrower, and then wood backing that was needed in a limited number of windows. And then there will be a change order 3 coming, and that's for design professional time. Nobody ever expected this to be 3 years, the trips that it took for them to come up from the cities to observe construction, so there'll be a small change order in a month from now.
How does this look budget-wise was it close to where we expected? I mean,
It's-
over 3 years, it's impossible to.
It's actually under, I think we were 200,000 under. So we did get a great bid, and St. Germain's did a great job. It took a long time, but they stuck with it, and now we have Kathy Marshall isn't calling that snow is blowing in her windows and not ever has. So it was a needed project, and now the building is snow-free in the winter.
And more energy efficient.
Plus much more energy efficient.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any questions?
What are they doing to the playground in Congdon?
Congdon Park is the only school that did not get a new playground. And the playground equipment, the rope climber, which if you're on Superior Street and you're heading north, well, what would appear to be north in Superior Street, on your right at the end is a rope climber and the swings. Those 2 are new, well, they're 10 years old. Those are staying, but the other equipment is beyond rate of life and has many broken components. So the equipment may be realigned, the swings will be realigned, the climber will be realigned, and then about 2/3 of the equipment will be replaced. So that's the last school that didn't get a full playground replacement. And then there'll be some soil and drainage corrections done in the field. So the play field right now is hard as a rock, grass doesn't grow, it's mixed with rocks, and just not a good field. There's drainage, but that's failed. So we'll be mitigating and fixing that.
Some more dry area for them to play on.
Right, and hopefully green grass.
Hopefully green grass. Thank you, Mr. Spooner.
You're welcome.
Bart?
Yes, for the cybersecurity, we received 1.3 million email messages, 131,000 were rejected, 1.5 million were identified as spam, 6.1 those were identified as phishing, 45 had suspicious attachments on it, 7.4 million, 1,000 were identified as spoofing. We had 0 emails identified with malware on them, so that's good. And I've listed if they've been up or down, so this month was down for most things. Our counts were up to 10,876. Our storage was up a little bit to 3.9 terabytes. Files shared externally was up a little bit. Suspicious login attempts was down, failed login attempts was down. And our data loss prevention blocked 26 either credit cards or social security numbers that we're trying to share. And we do have a bid that we opened on November 29th, and that's going to be on in this meeting as well. It's for data co-location facility. And that information is there. We put the maximum amount that bid value could be. We're expecting to be under $200,000 for the life of that bid. Nothing changes. Then I was hoping to have our bid 1308 posted.
Oh, so there's two bids.
Well, I was hoping to get it posted with the E-rate.
Oh,
for
okay.
USAC. I'm doing that, actually scheduled to happen tomorrow. So I'll be doing that, working tomorrow, with a consultant on that. And then we have another potential bid going out. What I did learn today is we only have like $500,000 left in our E-rate for category 2. And I think bid 1308 will take all of that plus. So having E-rate category 2 bids for the next 2026.
Is when we can come for E-rate bid 13 compound, the wireless.
That one is just gonna have to be a purchase.
Oh,
Because
got
we
it.
don't have any E-rate money available
Got it.
anymore. I just learned today we only have $524,000 left in the E-rate. So, and I think 1308 will use all of that plus some additional money. Our help desk tickets are at 409 new tickets last month, which is down. 407 tickets were resolved. 206 tickets remain unresolved. And we're still working with cybersecurity with our Duluth. And we've had our phishing campaign running this month. I know it's been pretty popular because we're right at 30% that staff have clicked on that. It's going to end on the 17th. Let's see. We're still working with Benson Electric on our wireless, as well as we put some cameras in, additional cameras at Denfeld, as well as at the park. And I think we have some potential going in at least just a few cameras, additional security cameras.
Oh, those are gonna be additional security cameras.
Yeah, both Lincoln and Denfeld identified a couple other areas they were having some issues with, so we worked with them, got those installed. And the new equipment arrives, up at facilities or at this location, up at our new buildings. So we're gathering all that, getting ready for the contractor to start working on that as soon as they get the green light.
That's awesome. It's not awesome that 30% of the staff engaged with the phishing campaign, but it's an opportunity for.
Yes. Yep. I think because our staff haven't seen phishing for such a long time,
Yeah.
we haven't tightened down as close as or as tight as we can.
We can.
And when they're seeing it, it's like, I never get this.
Yeah,
So they're thinking that's legit. So we have a lot of people clicking on it.
that's good that we're doing that for the engagement education. Thank you, Bart, for helping us keep our insurance rates as reasonable as possible. Now we can move on to our transportation departmental report. We're still transitioning over to Transversa, or are we not?
Yes.
Okay.
That might happen this month or January.
Yeah,
It's a process because we need IT to help with it, but
great.
it's
So-
on, our new assistant transportation supervisor is anxious to use it, so this month or next month.
Perfect, that works. There are daily changes this software will help us make smoother daily changes to our 434 routes, right? 65 field trips or 65 routes in November, 63 scheduled for December. We are in the process of hiring, so we need a mechanic, apparently.
We need two mechanics.
We need
now.
2 mechanics.
Yes.
So we have no mechanics right now.
That's correct. But we are, we're working with Voyager and they're going to be helping us with our minor mechanic, like oil changes and whatnot.
Okay.
Their transportation manager, Steve Johnson, did reach out to them last Wednesday. And they're willing to help us with our mechanic needs.
Okay, great. And then Steve, I did read that. When is Steve finished?
His last day is Friday.
Last days and retirement? I didn't even.
Yeah.
I think so.
Resignation. yes.
Resignation, okay.
Yeah. And,
Last day Friday, okay.
and we have a new assistant transportation supervisor, Jeremy Casapitas,
Right.
has really stepped up into the role. He's in week 4.
Oh, wonderful.
But we are offering training and we're giving him a lot of support. He's doing a great job.
Well, tell Steve thanks for his service.
I will.
Okay, I think that's awesome, great. Okay, it looks good for transportation. So let's move on to the recommended resolutions that we have. We're gonna have a recommended resolution for our certified tax levy of 2022 payable to 2023. We have an example of this. Will we see a resolution for the school board meeting?
That's correct.
Perfect,
Yes.
great. Next, we have a resolution reestablishing precincts and polling places for the Duluth Public School District for the elections that will be held in 2023.
Correct.
And you can look to see there. We also have a resolution which is gonna be in support of the guest presentation that we have today. It's a resolution of support for the Transportation Alternative Grant for Campus Connector Segment 6 to provide improvements to intersection east of Superior Street and Condon Park Drive. So we will get that passed for on Tuesday. We also have some additions, a resolution for an authorized bank account signer. We have a resolution accepting donations to the Duluth Public Schools, and we have a tremendous amount of donations that came from Maurice's this month for warm winter weather accessories and treats for teachers and in the staff lounge. That's awesome. And I looked through here, it's pretty much all of our schools that Maurice's donated
We're
this.
very grateful.
Very grateful. We also have Denfeld High School from the Irving Community Association from those pull tabs, right? $1,000 for their jazz band. And then $200 from Roger and Nancy Railstrom for the Duluth East High School Orchestra and Duluth Head Start. We have a resolution to accept grants. We have 2, the Citadel funding from Tom Tuskin wrote for $5,000 for computer science courses. And the Greater Denfeld Foundation grant for Denfeld High School, about $1,000 to create under computer desk bookshelves to create extra storage in the classroom. Brett, was there, this was the one that we emailed about, the second one,
That I
right?
emailed today.
Perfect, thank you, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss it, thank you. So those are resolutions we'll talk about at the school board meeting on Tuesday. On our consent agenda, we have our HR staffing report. And then included in this is the MARS coordinator position. Director Zinich, did we change this position previously from?
So it's actually a
Oh,
new,
yeah, sorry, Director.
it's actually a new position.
It's, okay, so this will be considered a new position.
Yes.
Got it, okay.
And so we do have the current position posted right now that is the business services liaison position,
Okay.
which is what Cattery is currently serving as. This position, we, in conversation with Cattery and what we know we're going to need for the future is a bit elevated.
Got it.
And it's kind of forthcoming later, probably in next year, but we wanted to get it on the books so that if we do get the right candidate that comes in to replace Cattery, that this would be something that we could elevate them to because it is going to be the need in the future.
Got it.
So the systems are going to be a lot more technical and a lot more detailed, and this job description really just elevates what's currently being done, but at that higher level that it will need to be from a reporting perspective as we go into the future. So we wanted to just get it on the books, have it as a position. It's not the position we're going to currently fill, but we do anticipate needing to fill this sometime in the near future.
So we're gonna fill the position that Cattery currently has, and then this position will be on the books for the future that we're gonna need.
Correct.
Okay, so the possibility is the person who takes Cattery's position could either be elevated to this or we hire another.
Correct.
Okay, so
That's correct.
we're gonna end up with 2 positions eventually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
possibly, okay, all right. Great. Sorry, Member Kirby, I'm going a million miles an hour. Do you have any questions?
I just had a question before one of those resolutions. Are those polling changes the same? Have any of them changed?
They are
No?
the same.
They're the same.
Yes.
Great, so we've done that. You can see next, as part of our consent agenda, we'll have our financial reports. And as greatly helpful, we have broken down on the bottom, ESSER 3, Fund 6, and extracurricular for our Fund 1. And I looked through it, everything looked good. Any questions? Great, and then Simone talked earlier about our audit, so as soon as you've had a chance to go through it, we'll get it to the board, and then we will talk more about it next week at the school board meeting. Oh, and then fundraisers. Homecraft wants to go to Wolf Ridge. It's great to see how much money they've raised. East, their Science Fair Club, concession sales, and then ECFE, $1,000 from Duluth Coffee Company sales. This is gonna bring the Teddy Bear Band to Duluth in March and classroom materials for field trips.
Teddy bear.
The Teddy Bear Band, I'm gonna underline that. I gotta find who the Teddy Bear Band is. That's awesome. Okay. Moving on to bids, RFPs, and quotes. The first bid that we're looking at here on 27, where am I at? Is bid 1307 for the data center co-locations. And Bart, you talked about this one earlier, correct?
Yes,
That we went for 534,000, but most likely will be around 200,000.
correct. We only received it from one vendor, only one response.
Okay, do you expect more?
No, we didn't receive anything, it was closed.
Okay, all right, so here we are. And then next for contracts, change orders, and leases, Mr. Spooner talked about that with the Congdon Park window project. So cutting of the shades and the wood backing, and we're still about 200 wood backing or wood surrounds for the windows,
Right.
right?
Yep, you're right.
I'm close enough.
Wood backing.
Wood backing.
Yep.
And then we're 200,000 still under what we had budgeted for.
Well, I know we were 200,000 under the next lowest bid.
Oh,
I
good.
don't, 3 years ago, I don't exactly recall what we had allocated, but I know we were under budget.
Got it, so I'm under budget, thank you. Great, and then as we move into miscellaneous information on number 5, I just wanna make sure. So district property updates is attached in the report, and you talked a lot about that already, Mr. Spooner, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
If people want to read that, and if they have any questions, they can feel free to contact me.
The inside of the DSC building is really starting to come together, isn't
It
it?
is, it's, studs are up, sheetrock is going up, mudding, taping, it's coming along.
Yeah. Worst job in the world, right, mudding and taping. Okay. Then we look at expenditure contracts. There's a variety of expenditure contracts that we have. No cost contracts, let's see, and then we go through all the contracts. Yep, okay. 3 for no cost contracts. Arctic Wolf and Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, and our no-cost contracts. Next, we have revenue contracts. Oh, I was gonna ask.
I'd like to.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that one, sorry, yeah.
I was gonna talk about an expenditure contract through, Frontline through, for analytics.
Yes, please.
It's a 5-year, it's over 5 years, and I'm so excited about this. It's an analytic forecast for budgeting. So I purchased 2 pieces where we can analyze our current year, and then, just do some, graphics and everything will be really great, but we can input numbers and then we can feed it to our future 3 to 5 year plan. So there are 2 parts to it. So, we have a plan in place that can align with our strategic plan, what our assistant superintendent Bond wants to do, as far as, projections. So it's gonna feel good for all of us, and I'm really excited about,
And then this will, help us, do we have capacity to do this modeling right now? We probably don't, do we, when we think about budget forecasts and stuff?
not technically through Skyward, no.
But, and then this is a piece that will allow us to.
Yes, and we will be able to upload information out of Skyward into this model. And, which is exciting too. So we will always have real-time numbers for this year. And then we will be able to, work forward. The contract is, or the quote and the description of everything is in your book. But 88 school districts in the state of Minnesota use this model. And we will have someone, for the life of this contract, we will have a financial expert available to us. And so, we have a second set of eyes on our budget numbers too. So it's going to be very good.
And then I just noticed Blackboard. Do we use don't we use Canvas or is Blackboard Canvas?
We use Canvas for learning management. I think Blackboard is for our new website.
Oh, okay.
They went through a name change too.
Yep.
Now it's Final Site.
Yeah.
Is it Blackboard the same one that was the LMS before?
They still have, they
Do
still
they?
have the LMS.
So now we're Final Site and this is for our website. Okay, great. Member Kirby, any questions? Okay. All right, we looked at no cost contract, and then I just wanted to talk about the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Chippewa, this MOU. Can somebody talk a little bit about this? Is it, what are we doing? I didn't get it.
Let me find the.
This is the one encouraging the cooperation
Yes,
between
it's on
the
page
human
195.
services and, yeah.
Okay. Oh, is it just, so it's just to help capacity for mental health at
Correct.
our, okay. That's fine. And is this specific for our Indigenous students, or would this be?
That's a good question.
I think it says American Indian students are referred
Okay,
by school personnel.
well, there it is, got
Yeah,
it, okay,
yes.
great, okay. Next, we have revenue contracts. Always love to see those revenue contracts. Northeast Service Cooperative and St. Louis County Youth in Action are 2 of our revenue contracts, and then we have the grant applications. From the Miller Dwan for adaptive training wheels and adaptive scooter for DAPE students, and then from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, this was a safe route to school plan. This is what we talked about here, correct?
That's correct.
Oh, excuse me. Oofda. And then we have, Member Kirby, any questions? Great, and then we have no change order signed. And that concludes the HR Business Services Committee meeting at 5:28 today.
Thank you very much.